Hello, and welcome to Learning for Wins, a podcast designed to help you learn all about American football. I'm Craig Havens, and with me is Jonathan Almanzar. All right, we're going to talk a little bit about the structure of a team. So we're going to talk about owners, coaches, position coaches, things like that. So obviously, most important person there is the owner, and that person sometimes is and sometimes is not in the mix. They're not known so well. Like you got a coach you got an owner like Jerry Jones and everybody knows him. You've got somebody who owns maybe Jacksonville Jaguars. Nobody knows who the owner is. Do you know who the owner is of Jacksonville
Shaka
Jaguars?
Khan.
Is it?
Mm-hmm.
Well, look at you. All right. Well,
I know some things.
all right. Well, that's why we have you here, because you know some things. So,
Yeah.
But yeah, so the owners, they're important. They're the guy that's, they're going to be in charge of making the moves. But really, most of them hire a GM that's going to be the person who is going to help you out.
Who's
in
the
your
owner
draft.
of the Green Bay Packers?
That would be the fans. That would be the fans based on stock. So, but then you've got teams that hire they all have a GM, a general manager.
Mm-hmm.
And that person is doing a lot of the work for the trade and stuff like that. Now, in the situation like the Cowboys, the owner is the general manager, and some teams do have that situation. But that person is going to be pretty much the highest position in a team. So they're the ones that are going to make the trades. They're the ones that are going to work on getting the draft set up and things like that, and they do it through their coaching staff and their scouts and things like that. So talk to me a little bit about ownership of a team.
I wonder how long they're going to be called owners, because the NBA went away from that, went to governors. I bet at some point they changed that up. I think that the guys whose families bought in early in the 80s and 90s weren't billionaires and now are because of their football teams.
Right.
And when we're seeing right now the Washington whatever's getting ready to sell, and it's what's the price on it now? $8 billion, $7 billion, something like that.
It's ridiculous, right?
It's so incredibly high. Like the valuation of these companies is enormous. They're becoming major corporations in themselves. I think ownership sets the tone. Like we see in Pittsburgh, the Rooneys have been the owners there for so long, and they have a lot of stability, and they have stability in their coaching staff.
Right.
I mean, they've had three coaches in their history.
And it's a long history.
We've seen several owners get very involved in the personnel, and we've never seen that really be successful. Jerry Jones was successful for a short period of time in the 90s, but after
emotion gets in the way too much.
Not at all.
You own the
Daniel
team.
Snyder, not successful. Davis, not successful. Glazer's not successful. Like anytime they really get in, well, one other, Bob Kraft, very successful.
Well, yeah.
And
successful at a few things.
Especially
when it comes down to Florida
until
here, he
came
gets
down
successful.
To South Florida and
he was successful.
Yeah.
And it succeeded in the whole ordeal, because that just vanished.
Yeah.
So, all right, so then you get into the coaching. So we've got
GMs.
Right,
too.
GMs. I'm sorry,
Yeah, the general managers make a lot of the decisions. They hire the coaches, the assistant coaches, they draft, they set up a team. They have to listen to everything that's going on. They're really probably one of the most powerful people inside of a team.
I think they really are, because if it's not him, the owner is typically the owners are either involved or they're not involved. If they're not involved, it's a GM. If they are involved, they're typically the GM.
What's really interesting to me in comparison to like the NBA is the GM in the NFL is there for long periods of time. In the NBA, the GMs are fired every year or every 2 years. But in the NFL, they tend to have long tenures.
So sometimes the GMs in the NFL are terrible, and they sit there. Detroit kept theirs forever, and he was just, what was his name?
Matt Millen.
Matt Millen, yeah, Matt Millen.
He's from Easton, Pennsylvania.
Is he really? I did not know that. Well, he was terrible,
yeah.
And I can tell him next time I'm up that way, but which is not too long from now, like in a few days. But yeah, but they kind of hide behind the shield. They're like the Wizard of Oz, like they're behind the curtain and nobody sees them, and they don't pay attention that much. Everyone blames the coach, they blame the player, but nobody really goes after the GM, which is incredible to me. They're like the weatherman. They make a lot of bad calls, they make a lot of bad decisions. The draft is bad, and people blame not the GM, they blame the coach because the coach isn't using these players the way they need to. That part kind of gets me a little bit. It's a bit annoying, and it's kind of like, it needs to change. But a GM is something that I think it's overlooked a lot when people talk about what's wrong with the team.
Oh, yeah, I would agree.
You look at the Dallas Cowboys, and I think sometimes that is the problem. I mean, I think a lot of that is the problem. Like, he runs the team, but he runs it on emotion. I think he's brilliant. He's got the money, and he bought the team, and I'd do what I want with the team if I had that much money to buy a team. But
Yeah.
it doesn't mean it leads to success.
Yeah.
So after that, we got coaches.
Yep. Head coach.
Head coach is pretty important, huh?
Yeah.
I mean,
What do you think the head coach does? Do you think, like, I know they're important, but there's times that I struggle with their importance. How do you feel about that? Let me clarify this. Coaching in professional football is more important than in any other sport.
right. Now you're asking about the head coach.
But I'm saying that head coach on game day, like, what does he do?
I think he's probably the most important piece
Okay.
because he makes a lot of the bigger decisions on game day. So most plays should be going through him, even though you've got an offensive coordinator who is making the play, who's calling the play. The coach can override it easily. Right. He's the guy that's going to make a decision whether it's going to be, hey, you know what, it's 4th and 2. We're on our own 40-yard line. I want to go for it.
Okay.
So he's going to be the guy who comes up with the major plan for the game. He's the guy that looks and says, okay, you know what, here's our plan. This is the way we're going. So he's the guy that sets the tone for everything. He's the guy that is – so his work isn't just during game day, but his work during the week comes out during game day.
So do you think of him as more like a CEO than a coach? Because, like, when you see a basketball coach, they're out there.
I think that's exactly
like
what
talking
it is.
And all
yeah,
that.
Like a CEO of a company, you know, like people get, you know, like if you're working for him, well, I make all kinds of money for that guy. Yeah. But that guy does a lot of work that doesn't get seen because he's behind a closed door, you know. And in this situation, I think it is. I think it is more of a CEO position than it is technically a coach.
Who's the next most important?
So it's going to be your coordinators, your offensive coordinator, your defensive coordinator.
Your
they're
special
the
teams
guys.
Coordinator.
It's going to be your offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator. They're the guys that are going to be, you know, they're the ones that are making what the coach came up with, his plan, happen. Yeah. Now, the coach doesn't sit down and put down a full recipe. You know, he's like, hey, you know what? We're going to have chicken and we're going to have potatoes and we're going to have
So this
corn.
is a good analogy.
This is the way we're going to set this up. Those guys are the ones that are going to prepare it the way that it's going to work best for the crowd.
So this is a good analogy.
For the game.
He says, I'm opening, the coach is basically like, I'm going to open a restaurant. We're going to make it a Mexican food restaurant.
Correct.
And then it's up to the offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator.
They're the chefs.
We'll say, or the menu. We'll say one of them's like the bar menu builder and the other one's like the food menu builder.
Right.
And so he says, okay, these are the drinks we're going to have. And this guy's like, these are the entrees we're going to have. And they take them to the head coach and he looks at it and he says, you know what? I really don't like mole. Get that off of here.
Right.
Put something in its place. And I hate
Can't
gin.
stand it.
Get gin.
Wait, I like gin.
We have no GJENNs in this place. They have to, they're removed. All women this is a non-gin area. Am I right, Craig?
Yeah, you are exactly right. Don't play this.
Okay. So then anyway, he gets rid of that. And so they've got that set up, right?
Yep.
And then we go to the assistant coaches.
Wait, nope. Because now to follow along with your scenario, we do have the special teams coordinator. And that's the guy that's in charge of cleanup afterward. But he is. Because seriously, he is. Because he's the guy that cleans up the mess.
He runs the bus boys
So the
and
offensive
dishwashers.
coordinator doesn't do his job, and it's now time to punt. This coordinator actually does come into play at this, and he's got to make sure that we set a good table for the next set.
Maybe he's the wait staff. Because those people are kind of lazy.
I don't know. I think he's more of the busboy type thing. Like he's in charge of the wait staff and the busboys. How's that? He's the guy that sets that stuff up. He makes sure the table is set and clean for the next round.
Okay. So then we move to the position coaches.
Correct.
And they're taking, you want this tamale? Well, let me figure out how we're going to make this.
So they're
tamale.
your food preps.
Yeah, they're prepping and they're figuring out really how to make it happen. Like this is the course that we want to eat. This is how we're going to make it happen, because eventually we get down to the players who are executing those things. So, and the same thing in the bar. You want an old-fashioned cocktail? This is how I think we should design it. This is the bourbon that we should use, all that kind of stuff.
Okay.
And then finally we get down to the players who have to execute those plays and make sure that they happen. But over all of it is the head coach watching it all of it that happen.
But he's also the guy that, he designed the restaurant. He put the chefs in place. He put everything in place to make the restaurant successful.
Correct.
So, and I don't know how we got into restaurants because I don't think you know anything about restaurants.
And then the owner bankrolled it all.
Yes, exactly.
The owner bankrolled
the owner kind of has an important role. Yeah. But without those pieces, an owner doesn't really fit.
And the
mix.
GM is the one who hired all of the
GM
servers,
is the one that does,
bartenders, and cooks.
Exactly. Yeah, he's the guy that makes everything kind of like work.
Yeah.
Yep. He's the guy that's up there. Yeah. I can't think of that name, but yeah. Yep. That's him.
Conductor.
Conductor. Exactly the word I was looking for.
That was the graduation song. Our graduation song, at least.
Oh, just yours?
I don't know. I never attended.
I've never heard it before.
I've never attended another graduation.
Could you play it again?
Dun, 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 dun. Nice. You know that's called Pomp. Thank you.
And Circumstance.
Pomp and Circumstance. That is,
yes.
I don't
Weird.
understand that.
Yeah. What is pomp? I know what Circumstance is, but what is pomp?
Like
pomp.
Yeah.
Pump the jam.
No, that's Pump.
Oh. Well,
and this was not Pump and Circumstance. This is Pomp and Circumstance. I think Pomp is making a big deal. Much to do.
Oh, much to do about nothing.
No, much to do.
About Circumstance.
No, just much to do.
Wait.
That's Pomp. Pomp is much to do.
About Circumstance.
And then it's Pomp and Circumstance.
Oh, so
much
it's not
to do and
the circumstances.
Yeah, that's why we have this song at our graduation.
How do we go off on these tangents during this show?
Because we give people what they want.
And they want pomp.
And Jen, I apologize. You are welcome to watch or listen at any time you want. Yeah, and
yes,
yeah, you're always welcome with Craig.
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah.
All right.
Cool.
All right. Very good. Well, I think that pretty much sums up the structure of a team, really. Though,
that's
great.
I
think that was a good analogy. So, yeah. We'll move on, and soon we will do our next one, which will be on penalties. We'll do penalties for the offense and penalties for the defense.
You have a sound?
Well,
we need a whistle.
Well, how's that?
That's like a dog whistle.
Oh, sorry.
That doesn't sound anything like what a...
Well, there we go. Oh, with the drum roll. All right. Thank you, everyone. We'll talk to you soon. Thank you again for listening to this Four Winds Media podcast. Please stop by our website at Four Winds Media and check out all of our podcasts. They can be listened to wherever you stream your favorite podcasts. If you'd like to share your thoughts, feel free to put your comments down below and like and subscribe to us. We hope to see you here again soon.